Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with another Enlisted video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. Today we are back with some more map ratings. Today we are taking on the Tunisia campaign, which personally, in my opinion, I think is one of the more underrated campaigns in the game, because I know especially when it comes to the African campaign, a lot of the rap that it gets is that, oh, it's just sand on sand on sand, there's nothing really unique about it. But what I will say is that Tunisia, before the Pacific came out, offered one of the most serene and beautiful map selections in the game. So I won't say too much about it right now, but let's go ahead and get into the map ratings, shall we? Ah man, I guess we starting out rough today, because the first map up is good old Kahif Cave Village, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who have played on this map will understand me when I say that this might also be tied for top 5 worst maps in the game. And not necessarily from an aesthetic point of view, because the map looks great and you would think so, you would think it would also be fun to play on just looking at the thumbnail, but once you actually get in there, you realize how much of a kerfuffle or snafu that it is. And the reason that is purely from a gameplay perspective. Reason being, you start out, defenders are always at a severe disadvantage. You start out defending this huge ditch in the low ground. Attackers automatically have the high ground by default, so they kind of just run up and spam grenades down in the ditch at you, and there's not really anything you can do about it from a strategic standpoint, because the point that you're supposed to defend is literally in the low ground. So it's just like, the gameplay loop there is just horrible, and I'm sure they have learned from this by now, but it's no fun trying to defend low ground or a ditch or a valley or anything of that nature while people spam nades or snipe you from above. For that reason, I have to give this map a D. Coming in at number 2 for our lovely list of Tunisia map competitors, we are going to take a look at Al Har. And what I will say about Al Har is there's nothing necessarily that is super standout in an aesthetic sense for this map, but what I will also say about it is from a gameplay standard, it is pretty top notch, and I guess this could apply for 80% of the Tunisia maps in general, but I really enjoy how they handled the contrast between using long range weapons and short range weapons. There are literally like a perfect balance or mixture of areas where a Lien field will excel, and then there's a bunch of buildings and smaller tight areas where Thompsons and MP40s will excel. And I think just generally speaking, Al Har is one of those maps that flows very well in a rectangular fashion, which is why it's so great for game modes like invasion and confrontation. And all that being said, the map plays very well. It looks really good even though there's no standout features. Gonna have to give it a B. Coming in at number 3 for our trip through the Tunisia campaign, we will stop and take a look at Al Jabar Farm, which is also a really good contender for one of the best maps in the Tunisia campaign. The reason I even posed that to you is because the first point, more often than not, it doesn't matter whether you're attacking or defending, makes me feel like I'm fighting in Aladdin's palace, for lack of a better word. So if you've seen that movie, it kind of makes me feel like I'm like, whoa, royalty, I'm defending the castle, you know, whatever the case may be. So that's really fun. And then from there, you're basically fighting in a bunch of I guess you could say farm settlements or complexes throughout the map, which again offer a really good variety of long range and close range engagements depending on whether you're actually fighting on point, which is more often than not going to be in the building, and then all of the areas between that will be where you can take advantage of your long range weapons and firefights and machine guns and stuff like that. So really good contender, like I said, for one of the best maps in the Tunisia campaign. It looks really good. It has standout aesthetic features. I think I'm going to give Al Jabar Farm an A. I'm sure a lot of you guys will share similar feelings with me when I talk about our 4th contestant, which is going to be Fortress. Fortress is probably top 3 or top 2 best maps in this campaign indubitably. The reason that I even say that is because again, it's very vehicle and plane friendly. I guess that could apply to a lot of the maps in the Tunisia campaign, maybe besides Kahif Cave Village, but even planes are good on that if you know what you're doing. Neither here nor there. Reason that Fortress is really good is that it's basically a progression from one cluster of buildings that is used as a stronghold to another cluster of buildings that is used as a stronghold, all the way into the end of the map where you're basically fighting over a giant historic, you can tell it was super old, a giant historic fortress. And I think from a defender standpoint, you know, you kind of have the advantage in a sense, but even when I'm on offense, I find it very easy to win on this map as well. So I think it's a pretty even balance as well. Neither here nor there. This is one of the better showcases of the varieties of weaponry that you are allowed to use throughout the Tunisia campaign, because basically they have all these buildings that are 2, 3, even 4 stories sometimes. Great effectiveness that you can implement by using rifles of the bolt action variety and sniper rifles as well, even machine guns for that matter. And then of course when you're actually fighting on the point, that's when it is more appropriate to use submachine guns and shotguns or whatever the case may be. And again, this goes, it permeates throughout the entire Tunisia campaign, but more so on this map than any of the others. I just really appreciate the variety of weaponry that you can use to great effect. So I'm going to have to give Fortress an S tier. From this point, I would like to shift your focus to the gameplay that you have been watching thus far on the screen, because we are now taking a look at Gorge. And I mean, for the most part, you've been watching it the whole time, so I will let you draw your own conclusions, of course. But what I will say about Gorge is that it's pretty typical run-of-the-mill, nothing really too crazy about it. Obviously the main draw or feature on this map is this giant ravine or river that you're fighting over midway throughout the map. You've seen me make pretty good use of my plane throughout this gameplay as well. I think tanks are moderately decent on this map. It might just be the fact that Italian tanks are like really bad, which is why you see so many blown up versions of those throughout this gameplay. But yeah, man, I mean, you know, it's nothing, like I said, it's nothing too crazy. I enjoy playing on this map. I don't really have anything that's necessarily horrible or bad to say about it. I think the best part of the map aesthetically is probably on that first point where we were fighting over that like super royalty looking, I don't want to call it a castle or anything, but maybe like a palace of some, or mini palace of some sort, obviously for somebody who was the richest person in the area at the time, but neither here nor there. A good mixture of buildings, not so much open ground, so I think you would have a better time making use of, you know, Thompsons and submachine guns and just flanking and building rally points in any building that is nearby the capture point. But it's ironic because I actually lost this gameplay. But yeah, man, I mean, like I said, decent map all around. I will give this one, because of the fact that, you know, it's one of the only ones that makes a big deal about water or whatever the case, I'll give it like maybe a C. I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong here, because this is highly debatable, but I think you could say I might have saved the best map in Tunisia for last, because we are talking about Oasis. And as such, let me talk to y'all about Oasis. So the thing with this map is, I think it is tied for, if not winning when it comes to the best looking map in the Tunisia campaign. But I think it is undisputed when I say that this just might be the best map in Enlisted when it comes to using vehicles. Simply because it might not even feature the best tanks of World War II, but just the way of the design of the map in general is so expansive and so open, especially on the very first point. It's like if you're not using a tank to push the advance on that very first point on Oasis, you are literally doing yourself a disservice and your team a disservice, honestly, if you're not using tanks and a plane or multiple tanks. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say there were gray zone tank problems, but it's nothing that you, again, it's nothing that you can't easily overcome by using a plane and dropping bombs on said tanks. That being said, very little cover throughout the map. A lot of it is running through open field. When you get a little later throughout the map, they do start adding more pieces of cover, and that's just really just in the form of concealment through the actual trees of the Oasis and little small ruins that are scattered throughout. But yeah, man, I'd be a liar if I told y'all that I did not think this was the best map in Enlisted, generally speaking, when it comes to using vehicles. I've gotten the best plane usage in like montages or whatever you want to call it with the SBD Dauntless using playing on this map in particular, and it's just like it blows my mind. Actually, it doesn't blow my mind because it's a wide open desert. That's typically where vehicle combat is going to excel the most, in wide open terrain. So that being said, not that you can't do anything when you're playing as infantry, because you can, and obviously you have to be infantry to capture points in general, but yeah, man, you really want to lean on your vehicle usage for this map in particular. And for that reason, for that uniqueness that is presented by playing on this map in general, I'm going to have to give Oasis an S tier. And I'm going to have to say, these guys really, the Enlisted developers I should say, these guys really did a good job designing the Tunisia campaign. And yeah, man, again, they break all the stereotypes, because a lot of what people would think when they play on the African campaign, and the reason that I think is not really explored as predominantly as the European or Pacific theater when it comes to people making World War II games, is because, again, the general consensus is like, oh, it's just sand on sand on sand. There's nothing really unique or crazy about it. But it just goes to show you, when people actually put their mind to it and want to make some good maps, it's really apparently it comes really easy for the Enlisted developers, and I want to praise them for that, because I really thoroughly enjoyed playing the Tunisia campaign. I don't play it that much anymore because I already maxed out the British and I don't really want to play as the Italians, but my whole time playing that campaign was probably when I occurred the most hours, if not the Pacific campaign. So kudos to the Enlisted developers. I really enjoyed the Tunisia campaign. Let me know what you guys think about all the maps down in the comment section below. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Don't forget to hit that like button, shoot for that subscribe button as well. Help you find better teammates, improve your skill-based matchmaking. Hope you have a good day. Black Guy out.